So I think we're ready to get started. It looks like somebody started a recording, but it's paused. So I'm gonna start that now. And then, Mary, did you want to do a can somebody do a backup recording?
I cannot do it, Madam
Your
Chair, if
co-host.
I'm the co-host.
So Sophie is doing it. Sophie is here tonight.
Welcome back, Sophie.
I can, Jenny, if you give me permission.
I have to give you permission to record. Let's see.
Yes.
Allow recording. There you go. All set. Okay, so I'm going to start with we have two new commissioners tonight. We have Teddy Doucette and Andrea Burnap. Should we do roll call vote first? Or do a little introduction? Somebody guide me.
I think
let's
just
let's do a roll call, open the meeting, and then we can do that under announcements.
Okay. All right. So roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Present.
Mike LaRouche,
Present.
Chris St. Germain,
Present.
Mary Wilson,
here.
Teddy Doucette,
Present.
Andrea Burnap.
Present.
Present. So that's everyone. So I'm going to open the meeting. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken from these discussions. Not all items may be discussed, and other items may be raised to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please be advised that the town of Lunenburg utilizes Zoom platform as host for its hybrid and remote meetings, that the Zoom platform utilizes AI technology known as AI Companion to create audio transcriptions of meetings to aid in the subsequent preparation of meeting minutes, and that the AI Companion is activated immediately upon launching the Zoom application. You are hereby notified that this AI technology may capture audio prior to the start of the meeting and or following the conclusion of the meeting. And then the Zoom meeting link. So do we have any announcements from any members of the commission?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I do think it's probably appropriate to re-announce the new
Yes.
commissioners.
Okay. So we have two new commissioners starting, with this meeting. We have Teddy Doucette and Andrea Burnap. And I don't know, do we want to, if either of you want to say a little bit about yourself, or do we save that for later?
I'll say something.
Okay.
Hi everybody. I'm very excited to be here. This is very new for me. Have been trying for a while to get involved in my community more. I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm very excited about both of them. And then Andrea, did you want to just say hi or introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi. I'm excited to be here also, and have a lot to learn, but I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay. Do we have any other announcements from members of the commission? All right. Do we have any comments from members of the public? Okay. It does not appear that we do. I sent out some minutes. From now moving forward, Michael will be sending out the minutes. He's our new admin in the office. But I did send out 1/8/2025 and 1/22/2025. Did everybody have a chance to look at them?
I did not.
Okay. So
I
should
looked through it a
we?
little bit.
Okay. And I don't think that you could actually vote on them because you weren't in that meeting.
That's right.
Unless you, yeah. So, did anyone else? I think maybe we should hold off until the next meeting to vote
I would
on
make a
them.
motion to approve. the minutes as posted.
Okay,
So moved.
a second.
Second.
Okay, so Mary with the motion and Richard with the second. Do a roll call vote. Chris Saint Germain?
Aye.
Oh, Madam Chair,
Yep,
I did have a question on the minutes of the 22nd,
okay.
and I'm just trying to bring them back up. I had them open here somewhere and I can't find them now. But I believe we had talked about the violation at 1168 Mass Ave. And I didn't notice anywhere in the minutes, or I'd like to make sure that the minutes show that we couldn't find any reports from the site walk that Brian Marchetti said that he had with either Matt Morrow or Nadia.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, so if we wanted to, would we want to hold off on those, get those updated and just vote on 1/8 tonight to be approved?
Yeah, I would recommend that. Yeah, I just where it's a violation, it just kind of, reading the
It's a
minutes,
good
it
catch.
implies that that was, that we just accepted that, but without any written report from either of the site walks, it's really hard for us to accept, accept what Matt and Nadia said about the site.
Okay. So we want to remake the motion just to approve 1/8?
Sure,
Uh,
Mary,
how
you
we
want to
do it?
remake your motion?
Yeah, I'll make the revise the motion to approve as posted the January 18th, 2025 minutes.
January 8th.
I'll
2025.
second.
8th, yeah, 8th.
Okay, so Mary with the motion, Richard with the second. Roll call vote. Chris Saint Germain,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Richard Birsch,
Aye,
and I for myself. And it's okay that I skipped over Teddy and Andrea, right? Because they
Correct.
weren't there. Yeah, okay. All right, so let me just write down. Okay, so moving on to new public hearings. Matt Morrow did request that we move 100 Townsend Harbor Road further down the agenda, so I think that's a second. So I think we would open that and then continue it to further down. The agenda is, we'll get there when we get there. All right, so 833 Flat Hill Road, public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Susan Ropiak for a replacement of a rear deck extending the length of the house, having the same or smaller width, in addition of a 14-foot wide sunroom, involving work within the 100-foot buffer zone. And there's an OpenGov ID. Do we have the applicant on? I do see
Yes.
the applicant is
Hi.
on. Hi. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your project? Maybe
Sure.
share-
Yeah, is it possible for me to share? I put some, sharing isn't turned on. I
Yeah,
just
let
put, we have a new survey that has a little more dimensional information on it than I had on Saturday when you guys were here.
Yep, so I'm going to. You should be able to share your screen now. And then did you upload those, whatever you have, to OpenGov?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great.
Okay, so am I sharing? Let's see. Oh, I have to say this, my word. Okay, got it. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, so based on our discussions on Saturday, my understanding is that there are two things that you are most interested in, and one of them is the 50-foot distance to the lake. And I had a survey already where it said that the existing deck, this shaded area, so the lake is on the left, the boundary is vertical here and the house is on the right, and the shaded area is our existing deck. And the survey that I had, he had drawn a line from the top left corner of the existing deck to the lake, and that was 54 feet. And someone made a comment, which made sense, that, hey, maybe the new part we're adding up here in the top is closer. And so I asked our surveyor to add that dimension, and that's just under 47 feet. So that does fall within the boundary. I tried to sort of draw a line, a dashed line parallel to the lake shore, from the one of the 50-foot distances. And, you can see that the portion of the deck that falls within the 50-foot zone is really just a sliver. And the rest of the house and proposed addition are outside of that area. So I think that would be the only area of interest as far as the 50-foot line. The way the engineering design is drawn right now is that the footing for that corner of the deck is just vertically right below the deck. But I put a few pictures in here. And so on the left here is what it looks like walking from our deck out around the side of the house to the driveway. And that's the corner of the house that I'm talking about. And on the right, I put a water bottle, and that's approximately the area, like the 8 feet out where the post would be located if it was as it is in the drawings. And that obviously is not an ideal location because that's where we need to walk. And I've been talking with the engineer, and he says he can cantilever the deck so that we can move the post. And we haven't gone into great detail because I wanted to make sure I got your feedback first before I had him do anything. But I had mentioned to him potentially, based on what I knew about cantilevering, moving it in a foot-ish towards the house and maybe a 1.5 feet along it. And so that means the post would be somewhere, kind of where I'm arrowing here. It would still be on the hardscape, but it would be, make it possible for us to walk by without running into the post. So that obviously would be further away from the lake also. I don't know what exact dimension that would be. And I don't know, what your guidelines are for how specific you are, what your request would be, I guess. But that's sort of the area that we're talking about. And then one other thing I would say is that, the shaded area here is the old deck, and we're adding a new deck here, and then around the corner is going to be actually a room. So the old deck has a rainwater collection system, and I showed you guys where it drains. There's a single drain pipe down under the deck that then goes underground and out into the yard. And what we want to do is make this next 12-foot area just into the end of the house also have that collection system. And so that's 12 by 12, so it's 144 square feet. And you were interested, I think, in the how the draining would work. And as I was thinking about it more, I realized we're also putting this permanent roof over the one portion of the deck, and that's it's just slightly less than, but about the same size as the new area of the drainage system that we would be adding. And so for the new area, we could attach that to the existing downspout that we're using, and potentially this area would go into the gutters on the roof. And it's a small enough area that's split between 2 gutters. I think we have plenty of flow available there. So we wouldn't appreciably be changing the amount that was discharged down into the ground compared to what we have right now. And a portion of that also is, I put on the left here our current deck, and you can see the hardscape under it. So there's a portion, it's not very big, but there still is a portion of it that would be over something that's a hardscape already. So there wouldn't be, the ability for it to be going into the ground there anyway. So I don't know, I guess if you have questions, clarification, suggestions, anything you want to add? No.
You could just go to the drawing.
Go back up here. Oh, it says 883, not 833.
Oh, I was talking and I was muted. So I have a question. Can you go down to the retractable awning in the permanent roof picture? So now you have this retractable awning, and you're going to be removing that. And
Yeah,
then
it's not even a retractable awning. It's just sitting on top of the deck. It's not attached to the house.
a
It's
cloth
just
shade.
okay.
yeah, it's really a shade cover. Though
And
it's not
then-
great with water.
is this, and then this roof is permanent. Is it
Yes.
about the same size as that
Yeah,
awning?
I would say it's maybe a foot or two wider. It's got, right now
Yeah,
we have
I think it's 14 feet wide and that awning is 13, so.
so a foot wider, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now our roof has a, a triangular shape. I don't know what it's called, and we're just gonna be extending that out. But yeah, just slightly larger than what we have. But again, what we have is not a permanent structure. It's really not great for rain because it doesn't collect it. It's more for shade.
And then, so I didn't realize the sunroom is going to be above ground. It's not on the ground there. It's actually,
Right, well,
above.
actually, yes, so the portion of it away from the lake towards the front of the house is gonna be only a couple feet off the ground because the property rises up there. But it's gonna be on the main level of our house, not in the basement level.
Okay, do we have any questions for members of the commission? I actually have some pictures I took while I
Oh,
was out
great.
there that I can share. So let me get those up.
Do you want me to stop sharing, or is that gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen. So that will take it from you.
I think so too, but.
Oh, I think I see Sophia has a question. So do you want to ask your question while I get my screen sharing going? Sophie?
Sure. I just had a question or a concern to the commission. I'm obviously very behind on a lot of things in the office, but catching up today I was reviewing this one RDA in particular on OpenGov, and I realized that Herlin had put a note requesting proof of abutter notifications, and I still do not see that
Yeah, she
proof
did.
in the
Right there.
attachments.
Checking. Oops, is my on still? Yeah. I had replied to her that we also had to get a zoning variance because we're a couple feet over the too close to the property line on the side. And as part of that application, I had provided addressed envelopes to the zoning commission, and they sent out notices to the abutters, and we just assumed that
Go ahead and meet with
everything
Avi.
would be included.
But didn't she said it was okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I didn't realize it says in progress.
I'm just telling you, okay?
So I'm actually not clear. Do ZBA abutter notifications count for,
We haven't started
Okay,
cooking.
okay.
do ZBA notifications count for everything?
No.
Or no, they would have to notify for the conservation.
Yeah, they
application.
have to know, the applicant has to notify their abutters. They have to get a certified list, a conservation list from the assessor's office and notify those abutters specifically of this hearing. So
Okay.
unfortunately,
So-
if that hasn't been done, then this hearing is in violation of the open meeting law.
Okay. All right, so we have to close the hearing then?
Or just never really opened.
Okay.
Technically.
Okay, so I apologize. I assumed, we just assumed because we just assumed that the town, you guys were kind of communicating and everything was gonna go in those envelopes, but if not, then we will have to do that.
Yeah, so the abutter notification lets the abutters know that you're having a hearing. So it allows
Yes.
them to come on and make any comments. And where they were notified for the ZBA, that doesn't help for this hearing. So it
Okay,
needs to be for each hearing that you have, or each new hearing that you have. So, I guess we just move on to the next hearing, Richard?
Can we-
Yes.
yeah, can I ask one question before we go? is it, I completely understand what you're saying and assume that we'll be hopefully on the docket at the next meeting. I'll figure that out and get those out immediately. But since we have you guys here, is it possible for you guys to comment? So if there's something that, more information that you need, we can start again from the beginning next time, but at least we would be able to maybe address something in the interim, or is that not okay?
I'll be looking for guidance from,
I mean, we can have a discussion because it's on the agenda as a discussion for a meeting, so we certainly can discuss it, but anything that we discuss would need to be just reiterated at the next time we open the hearing.
okay. So, should I show my pictures that I took just so everybody has a,
Yeah,
that
I guess
okay?
I don't know how your schedule is going, Jenny, but I mean, at this point, anything that we do, we have to redo, so do we
Okay,
have time to do it this evening, or are we better off to just move on?
so our next is going to have to be continued until Matt gets here, and then we have, yeah, I think we probably should move on.
Okay.
Okay, well, if you have any comments, or if you can even email, you know, if there's something we're missing, that would be helpful for the next meeting. It would be good to know so we could just have it for the meeting, you know, to save time then, so.
So, also, I'm hoping that maybe our interim conservation administrator may be able to go out there and take some notes too. And she puts them in OpenGov, and that may be helpful for you
Okay,
too. Okay,
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
thank you.
Madam
go ahead.
Chair, it would be helpful to see erosion protection.
Oh,
On
on
the
the plan?
Yeah. And
So
it
it-
should really have the 30-foot and the 50-foot the 30-foot no touch and the 50-foot no build boundaries on the plan from border to border.
Okay, and then, so I can do that, and then is the erosion, I assume the erosion plan was something that you were going to tell us about what we needed to do in order to do the project, or is that something we proposed to you first?
Generally, it's proposed by the applicant, and it would be running along your limit of work to protect any runoff, polluted runoff from the work side into the wetland side. And usually it's just a line of straw wattles, and if needed, silt fencing.
And how do we present that to you? Is it written on our survey somehow, or is it?
Yep, yeah, you would just put a line in, a dotted line saying erosion protection consisting of straw wattles staked to the ground.
Okay,
And you would designate that also as your limit of work, which means you're not going to be going digging or doing anything on the other side of that boundary.
okay. Okay, thank you, that's helpful.
Thank you, and
Thank you, Madam
have a
Chair.
good night.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, I'm actually here, so, I mean, you don't have to.
Oh, you
move it.
are?
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
like
great.
I said, it was a quickie. It's already done.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Okay, so moving on to our public hearing for 100 Townsend Harbor Road. Public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by DCSJ LLC for a new single-family home and associated grading partially within the 100-foot buffer zone. And we do have the representative for the applicant on, and that is Matt Morrow and me.
Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, I think, hold on. To give you permission, but I don't see you on my screen. Gallery. There you are. Okay. Okay, share your screen.
Thank you. Can everyone see this okay?
Yep,
I'll zoom
I
in a
can.
little bit. Zoom in a little bit here. So we have one of 5 lots on 100 Townsend Harbor Road. This one is actually closest to the abutter to the south, heading back towards Mass Ave. There was a wetland that actually went all the way back up and behind the properties. Where it comes most relevant to the buffer zone on this lot is right here. Any work for the other 4 lots is out of the 100-foot buffer zone. The yellow line is the 100-foot buffer zone. The dotted line behind that is 50. The dotted line behind that one is 30. The highlighted in the green is the edge of wetland resource area. The only portion of the work that falls within the buffer zone is a perimeter drain outlet here, heading to basically the area where you have the overstory and stone walls. The stone wall street side here, stone wall separating the abutters lot here. This wetland system continues on towards where it says Michael A. Rash to the south west. The only 2 comments I got from the DEP, this work doesn't come any closer than approximately 80 feet to the wetland. DEP did send along a couple of comments on the RDA. One was about stormwater, but there is no like centralized stormwater with a detention basin or anything like that. Stormwater has been accomplished by on-site grading. It has gone through the planning board for each individual lot. The planning board has issued stormwater permits approving that. I did call DEP and review that with them because they were, for some reason, they made the assumption without seeing the rest of the A&R lots that there was some type of like elaborate stormwater system when there wasn't. The other comment they made was in the agricultural field in this area, there are wet spots. It's a former hay field and a former crop field. And a lot of times what winds up happening is you get areas that are graded for irrigation. You get areas that are packed down from haying over the years where you wind up having like trailer, like tractor tracks that wind up creating potential wet spots. I did evaluate the field by soils to check for any isolated wetlands protectable on your bylaw. I didn't find any. There are areas basically over to the east and over here where the septic system is that do contain some facultative wetland vegetation, but the soils there, I think the darkest they go are 3-3. There's no modeling in any of those spots. And some of the areas where the wet spot was, you have perks and wetlands don't perk. So it was definitively, there wasn't any resource areas there other than the BVW that I had found, which actually gets quite extensive as you go on the back of the tree line, going behind the other lots. But there's no work proposed in the buffer zone of that wetland. I think you guys have seen enough of my delineations to know I tend to be a little bit more on the cautious side and try to give deference to the wetland in every situation. But that's about it. I'm free to any questions you want to send my way, smoke signals, Morse code, whatever. I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from members of the commission?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
through you, Matt, in your delineation report, did you mark the areas that you took samples, of course?
I have delineation sheets. Yeah, I don't have them in a lot of those areas because I found nothing. So what would have been submitted would have been relative to this area over here and the areas behind it. If you want the data, I can submit the data, but I can tell you everything on this site, especially in the field, it's all Paxton. It's all well drained. The areas over here, you've got different types of soils up behind the tree line, even though you have Paxton mixed in. You have more mucky soils up at the top and the back of the tree line, which basically bleed down to this area over here. So a lot of what's out here actually follows contour and is based more on hydrology than anything else, because you can see some water backing up during periods of high flow. I know I reviewed that with the commission on, the other commissioners on the site walk. I made sure to have the back end of this area staked out so they could see the back edge of the house in relation to the work and in relation to the wetland. So,
Okay, just if you can maybe make a narrative in your wetlands delineation report that satisfies the comments that DEP had made.
yeah, I can add data sheets to my submittal and,
Perfect.
show you specifically where the areas are. Considering I do have a plan of the entire, proposed subdivision, I can draw on that, basically through, a PDF and make reference to it so that you can have sheets that correspond to it. It's not an issue at all.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm just looking, we have a DEP number?
There's no number, it's an RDA.
RDA, oh, okay.
Yeah, they comment on
Perfect.
RDAs too, in case they see anything they
Okay.
want to comment on, so.
Uh,
If you want to
Super.
add that
All
as a condition, I'll be more than happy to submit that.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I would say we went out on a site walk to this site over the weekend, and I didn't have any concerns about this or any questions. Do we have any other questions from members of the commission?
None for me, Madam
I guess
Chair.
I have one other quick question, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Where would we find the IDA comments from DEP?
They don't put them on the portal. What they do is they email it to both the administrative staff and they would normally copy me. So I know when I saw the email, it was a copy to Herlin and there was a copy to Sophia as well.
Oh, okay.
Those get into, I you mentioned them on the site walk, but do those get into OpenGov? I'll have to check. So we have a record of them in OpenGov. So we know what the questions
I
were.
have to admit, I have not seen those before, honestly.
They do them commonly now. I mean, you
Mhm.
could basically just have the email printed out as a PDF on, one of the staff's computers, and then they could take that PDF and upload it to the portal on that account.
Okay.
Because
And
sometimes I don't get them. Sometimes they just send it to staff. And that I kind of have an issue with because I'd like to know if they have any comments. This time I was made privy to the comments, which is good, but sometimes they just send comments out. And they should be doing that to the applicants as well if they have something to say, because there isn't really a comment procedure or a review procedure on an RDA that normally bears comments. This is something new.
I do remember seeing it once a couple months ago.
Yeah, I mean, it
On,
does happen. As you guys know, I do part-time agent work in Westminster, so I will occasionally get comments on RDAs and I'll share them with the applicants if the applicants aren't copied, but a lot of times the applicants are. And sometimes the comments are more cautionary than like, oh, there's a problem. For example, I filed a septic system in Lancaster and there was a floodplain off the lot, but they just told the agent, hey, double check the FEMA maps and verify it anyway. Probably missed the fact that I had the FEMA map on the submittal. But I mean, those are the types of comments that come in.
okay.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, if we can, Madam Chair, maybe direct the administrator to add those to the OpenGov portal and to share those with members where we don't get to see them, but they clearly are concerns DEP has about a submittal.
Yep, absolutely. And then Sophie, would you mind adding it says that you were copied on them? Would you mind adding those to OpenGov at some point?
Yeah, I was just looking through them now. I can figure out a way to like download it as like a PDF or something, hopefully.
Yeah, if
You
you
know,
just hit print on the email and then print it as a PDF, that should work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from members of the commission? All my pins disappeared, which is weird. It does not appear that we do. Do we have any comments from members of the public? Okay, does not appear. Oh, Sophie. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just looking closer at who was in the correspondence with the DEP with the file numbers and the comments. It appears that I'm also seeing the LCC Lunenburg Mass.gov what included in that.
Okay.
Oh.
Did anyone from the office respond to it?
Oh, I'm just not that particular one. I'm just looking at one of the more recent ones.
Okay. Is it an NOI or a RDA?
This one looks like 1178 Northfield Road.
Okay, yeah, so we'll we start attaching stuff like that to the open gov record so that the commissioners have some visibility on it. We don't have visibility on the LCC email. So,
Oh,
okay.
I thought you okay. I
No,
thought the
we don't.
commission did. Okay.
No, just the office. And
Okay.
so, okay. Yeah, if you
Thanks.
see anything like that, throw it in OpenGov. That would be great.
Will do.
Okay, so do we have any, doesn't appear that we have any comments from members of the public. So I think I would be looking for a motion to approve with a special condition that we add the, oh my gosh, I forgot what it was. I meant to write it down and I got sidetracked.
Was it the markers of the
Matt's delineation data.
Yes. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved. So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, Mike?
Okay, so I have the motion by Richard and the second by Mike. We have a roll call vote. Richard Birsch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Teddy Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnett,
Aye.
and I for myself. I didn't forget. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Matt.
I will get to work on those. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, so moving on to continued public hearings. Next is 67 Island Road. Do we have, I'm not seeing the applicant here. I think you know what? She asked for a continuance to most likely the next meeting. So I have to open it, continue it, right? And then we move on. So a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Melissa Canavino for the renovation of a patio, stairs, and walkway within the 50-foot buffer zone of Hickory Hills Lake. And then the applicant has requested that this meeting be moved to at least the next meeting, which is July 16th. So do I have a motion to continue?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have the motion by Richard and the second by Chris.
Actually, I think it was Mike that did it. Hey,
Was that you, Mike?
Yes, it was. I'm
Okay.
voice like Rich tonight, so we're
Madam
All right.
Chair, and maybe I
Yes.
missed it. I'm trying to log in here. Did you do the preamble before to open the hearing?
I did. With the in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law thing.
Yep, I may have missed it.
Did.
No,
You
no,
missed it?
the
I heard it.
As did I.
for each individual hearing, according to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaw. We
Oh, you
open
know
a
what?
hearing for continued for whatever Island Road.
I did not. You know what? Because I'm so used to it being there and I'm just reading what's there. So should I do it again?
Yeah,
it's
you
only
should
at the
read that,
top.
Yes.
that authority should be read for every hearing.
Okay, so I'm gonna say pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 in the town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a continued public hearing for 67 Island Road, RDA 24-9. It's a public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Melissa Canavino for the renovation of patio stairs and walkway within the 50-foot buffer zone of Hickory Hills Lake. And the applicant has requested that this be continued till at least 7/16. So I'd be looking for a motion to continue to the July 16th, 2025 meeting.
So moved,
Second,
Richard.
Mike,
Okay. All right, so that's the motion from Richard and a second from Mike.
yes.
Yeah. Roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Teddy Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnap,
Aye.
and I for myself. All right, so we have up next, continued public hearing. So that is pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 in the town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a continued public hearing for 1083 Northfield Road, NOI-25-10. And it's a notice of intent by Tanner Cole for construction of a common driveway to service 4 single-family dwellings to be served by private wells and on-site sewage disposal system involving the crossing of a bordering vegetated wetland in 2 locations, with all proposed dwellings and private driveways outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Do we have the applicant or their representative on the call today? It does not appear so. Sophie, have you heard anything from them about asking for a continuance? I definitely did not get any notification from this.
No.
Okay. So where the applicant does not appear to be here, best practice is to continue
Yes.
to the next meeting. So I'd be looking for a motion to continue to the July 16th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Second, Richard.
All right, who was the first?
Mike,
Mike first and Richard second. All right, roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Teddy Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnap,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. Up next, pursuant to MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, we have 390 Howard Street for a public hearing on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation by Kevin O'Brien at 390 Howard Street. Do we have the applicant or the representative on the meeting tonight? I do know that the office reached out to them and asked them to be here. I am not seeing anyone here tonight for this hearing. So looks like we have to continue to the next meeting. And we can't do anything if they're not here. So I guess I'd be looking for a motion to continue to July 16th, 2025?
Madam Chair? Yeah, I do
Yes.
have one question. So have we actually closed the gap? The last I recalled, we had not received the final survey located flag, the drawing with the updated survey located wetlands flags. Have we received that yet?
Not to anyone's knowledge. Sophie checked her email yesterday and did not receive anything. They've gone through the LCC email and not found anything. Herlin did ask Chuck Karen for anything that he might have, and he did not have anything. So, and we haven't seen anything come from, is it Art Allen? So as far as I know, as far as the office knows, we have not received anything.
Thank you for that clarification. I just wonder, I mean, if you'll bear with me another
Yeah.
minute, the applicant hasn't showed up a lot.
Right. And they've been
And
asked to come.
yeah, and so I wonder if it's in the town's interest to keep continuing these if the applicant's no longer interested in pursuing it.
I agree.
And I actually don't know the answer. It may be worth talking to Adam Costa about, but yeah, I can't approve it without the actual drawings.
Right.
And I don't know that there are any actions that we're waiting on to make a decision besides getting those drawings. Maybe, you know, one thing to consider is telling them that if we don't get the drawings and they don't come to a hearing, that we will close it, right? Or you'll put it to a vote, right? Which would likely close it. I would imagine most of the conservation commissioners would not want to approve something without a drawing.
I agree. And it's been, months. So we've been out there, I think, in last winter, the winter before last, and in the fall and in the spring. And we haven't seen anything since then. And it was, kind of rapidly changing in between the two visits that we were there. So I'd like to see if they were going to provide something, I'd want to see something fairly recent at this point, even if they had provided, well, they haven't provided anything. So sounds like for tonight, we would continue to the next meeting. Have the office reach out again and say that they need to come to the meeting, or we can't keep continuing it.
They need to, my thought is that they would need to come to a meeting and they would need to
Plan.
provide the updated survey located, updated plan with the survey located wetlands flag. And that we will, they don't do that, you'll push to go ahead and close the meeting or put the, whatever the correct jargon is. Rich is probably closer to it than me. Put the commission to make a decision.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Does anyone else have any input on that?
No, I agree. I would make a motion that we continue until what's the date, the 16th of July? And reach
Yes.
out to the applicant and list out the information that we do need prior to that hearing. Or we will be taking a vote to deny the application for lack of action on the applicant's part.
Okay. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
All right, I'm gonna give Richard the motion and Mary the second. Okay, roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson.
Aye.
And those are all the people in the meeting that can vote on that, because Teddy and Andrea and I cannot. Or to continue, can we continue? I don't,
Yes, you can continue.
Oh,
You just can't
okay.
vote on a deliberation.
Okay, Teddy Doucette,
I think I have to recuse myself from this because my address is very
You're in a
close
butter.
to,
Oh, right.
yes.
Good call. Andrea Burnett,
Aye.
and then I for myself. Let's make a note here. Okay, up next, we are moving on to administrative determinations. I know that our interim administrator had spotty availability over the past couple weeks, over the past week, actually, I should say. So I checked 30 Peninsula Drive. I did not see any notes in there before the meeting. Sophie, do you know anything that I may not know as far as that application goes? I don't see any notes from Herlin, though.
Double checking now. It looks like it was just put on hold by Herlin. There was some back and forth with the applicant. That was June 26th. So
Yeah.
anything after that, if you're up to date on that, then there's nothing more that I would know.
Okay. And then do we have any, do we have the applicant on the
Yes.
line?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh,
Martin Thomas from 30 Peninsula Drive.
okay. Do you have anything that you would like to share with us, or verbally, or pictures, or tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Well, I simply want to remove one dead pine tree. I have uploaded pictures of it to OpenGov, which clearly show that it is dead. It's a safety hazard. If it falls in any direction, it's capable of causing either personal injury, property damage. I've already got permission from the Hickory Hills landowners to remove it. And I've had tree services come and they agree that it needs to go. And I'd just like the approval to take it out.
Okay. Sophie, would you mind sharing the pictures since you're in OpenGov, just to
Yep,
show the commission?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, whoops. Hold on. You should be all set now. Okay, so this is the tree in question.
Yes, it is. There should be 4 pictures in total.
It appears that there's 3 here. There may be another one.
I think that there
Yeah.
was one that shows shedded limbs.
I was able to upload one. I couldn't update the next 2, so Logan did it. And then there should be one final picture that's dated a little bit later, just showing that branches have already started to fall to the ground.
That's the bottom picture, it looks like, Sophie.
Yeah, that's the most recent.
And then would you mind pulling up the original pictures, Sophie?
Yep. You talking about these right here?
Yeah, it was very close to the water. So, looking for a little bit of guidance from members that have been on the commission longer. where this is a conservation administrator determination, but we haven't had a conservation administrator out there. Can we give guidance on this or vote on this?
Certainly.
Okay. All right, so do we have any comments from members or questions from members of the commission on this? Or about these pictures or? Richard?
Yes, Madam Chair, is the tree coming down and the stump remaining?
I was going to leave the stump in the ground to secure the soil.
Good answer. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
And then, oh, Mary.
Yeah, I don't really have a question. I just want to have mostly just a comment that I noticed that the house is on a well-wooded lot, and I really appreciate the resident keeping that canopy cover and preserving it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I like the trees too.
So as far as replacement for this, we have a formula, right? Of what we should be replacing this with? Or should we be replacing this? Sophie? Anyone?
Do we have a discretion where
Mhm.
there's, oh, I should, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Do we have a discretion where he's got a lot that's very well populated with trees? I mean, I know there's a formula like a 2-for-1, but where he's got plenty of trees there, do we still have to enforce that? I mean, I think we put a little
when
bit
it's
of common sense in there.
when it's one tree, oh, Rich.
Richard?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I've always assumed that it was at our discretion, but that was the recommendation that's in the regulation. And where it is a treed lot, as Mary commented, and he's not removing the tree without and pulling the stump and disturbing the area. So personally, I would have no problem with just allowing him to remove the tree,
Okay.
as long as he's not disturbing the other growth in the area. Other trees will come up. It looks like there was a birch and some other things in that general vicinity.
Okay. Thank you for that. Do we have any other comments or questions from members of the commission?
I just wanted to add that there is a replacement ratio, but it also varies on what the commission feels with I would say the overall percent cover of the area. You wouldn't want to try to replace a tree in a already densely covered area with a lot of shade. But the replacement ratio itself, the trees that are less than 8 inches DBH requires 1 tree replacement. Trees that are larger, more like 8 to 20 inches DBH, require 2 replacement trees. And then trees that are even bigger than that, around 20 inches, require 3.
Okay, yep, that's what
But
it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
For refreshing me. So, any other comments or questions from members of the commission? Doesn't look like it. So this would be, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the removal of the tree and keeping the stump in place.
So moved.
So move. Second, Richard.
All right, motion to Mike and second to Richard. And then roll call vote, Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Patty Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnett,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, motion to approve. Thank you so much for coming in.
Okay, thank you for the approval. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yes, you too. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Right. Up next, we have 167 Townsend Harbor. with the administrative determination, let me just check OpenGov on this one. Do we have the applicant or a representative on the call? Not seeing anyone. This is, they're looking to remove 3 dead trees. I don't believe Harlan has had a chance to be out there yet either, so we will move on from this one because we don't have anything in OpenGov or any information on it, and the applicant's not here. We don't have any extension request permits. We have a request for a certificate of compliance from 42 Pearl Street. See if there's any notes on that one. There was not last time I looked. Oh. Maybe I'm thinking they have 2 in here. I'm going to share my screen and share Harlan's notes with the commission. So, segmented retaining walls have been installed in step terraces as proposed. The design appears consistent with the site plan and includes a central stairway for access between elevations. Stabilization and landscaping of the terraces has been completed. Plantings include ornamental shrubs and ground cover consistent with erosion control objectives. Lawn areas above and below the wall are stable and vegetated. Stormwater discharge point located in the southwest corner of the lot has been constructed with riprap and proper grading. The outlet is stabilized with stone and no signs of erosion or sediment transport were observed. Deck driveway and home footprint match what is shown on the approved plan. No evidence of unauthorized expansion into buffer zones was observed. No construction debris or temporary controls remain on site, and the overall project area is fully stabilized. Field conditions are consistent with the approved plan set in prior orders of conditions. Specific design elements, including walls, drainage features, and vegetative stabilization, have been completed as approved. No resource area impacts were observed during the inspection. Site appears to meet the performance standards for the certificate of compliance, proper stabilization of all disturbed areas, implementation of erosion control and stormwater management features, no outstanding or unapproved work, no violations or unauthorized encroachments within buffer zones. And then we have a couple of pictures with some notes. And then I cannot, all my stuff is in place, is in front of this, so I can't get out of it. And then there's another one. There we go. I really don't like the way pictures open in OpenGov. Looks like where the discharge is. Let me know if I'm going too fast for anybody. I already showed that one. All right. So I think we could, look at closing this out based on the administrator notes. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this?
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, great. Second, do I have a second?
Second, Mike?
Okay. Nice. Okay, roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Teddy Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnett,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. Approved. All right. And then the next is 390 New Townsend Road. Let me close all of those tabs I just opened. And it does not look like we have any notes in this one. Do we have the applicant on the call? Sophie?
Hi, sorry, I can't unmute. There seems
I
to be
lied.
notes on,
Yep.
yeah, the site inspections.
You are correct. Thank you. All right, so let me read these over. The primary and reserve leaching areas are stabilized and no evidence of erosion, ponding, or grading inconsistencies were observed. Inspection ports were noted as installed in accordance with plan detail. The disturbed areas have been fully loamed and seeded. Vegetative cover was established and consistent throughout the graded areas. The lawn area within the 100-foot buffer is stable and does not show any signs of recent disturbance. The edge of wetlands is clearly demarcated on the plan and corresponds to the field conditions. The 30-foot no-touch zone and the 50-foot and 100-foot buffer zones are respected and free of encroachments or debris. A replication area noted on the plan was observed. Vegetation appears to have successfully established. A small structure, gazebo, is located outside the 50-foot buffer to the wetland boundary. It does not appear to conflict with any restrictions noted in the order of conditions. That appears to be in compliance with the approved plans and the conditions set forth in the order of conditions. There is no evidence of noncompliance, erosion, or buffer zone violations. And then we have some pictures. Does anyone have any questions while I'm going through these or comments? So I think I would be looking for a motion to approve based on the interim admin notes.
So moved, Richard.
Do I have a second? Was that you,
Sec-
Chris?
Second, Mike.
Okay. Roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Teddy Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnett.
Aye.
All right, approved. Certificate of compliance. Okay, so up next, we have enforcements, the violation and enforcement actions and hearings. So we have 10 Mass Ave. I have not heard anything new. I know that the office was going to check on that. I talked to Sophie about it yesterday, and there had been no movement on that. Right, Sophie? That's what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, 10 Mass Ave.
And then same for 1168 Mass Ave rear, looking for some support from the office for that. And then 45 Road 12, I said the boulders are in place. Did we get the certificate of compliance on that one? I know they were
No.
going to get it out.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I thought the sticking point was who's actually going to submit the
Right.
request.
yes. That's right. So, and it definitely has to be the town because it's the town property, even though the applicants, the people listed on the original application were the homeowners that are across the street. Is my thinking. I guess you guys have to get more guidance on that.
That's consistent with my own understanding as well. I think Rich was the dissenting voice, last time. He might have to step away for a second.
Oh. Oh, that's where we talked about it in the meeting. I was looking through my email, like, where did I hear this? It was when I watched the meeting. So yeah, we'll have to ask the office to get guidance. So Sophie, 40 Fire Road 12, you remember that?
I do
Property.
recall it.
So the DPW they mostly, it's re-stabilized it back to its original condition. And the DPW went out and put boulders down. So people can't use it any longer. And then we requested that the office create a certificate of compliance on behalf of the town because it's town property. But there's a difference of opinion whether we should be doing it on behalf of the town or whether the people who were listed in the original application should be requesting the certificate of compliance. I'm on the town should be doing it side since it's technically town property. Would you make a note to look into that? And then I'll also follow up with an email just to you and Herlin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an interesting one, especially
Yeah.
since it started out very odd with the violation and yeah, how would that transpired?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'll follow up on that. with
I
an
am
email.
glad that that was finally carried out though.
Yeah, me too. Nice to get something done. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to 390 Howard Street. Nothing. 48 Meadow Lane, nothing there. 1147 Mass Ave. Not heard anything. 314 Highland Street. Nothing there, and then basically nothing on 199 Mass Ave either. We're really just kind of trying to get through the things that we need to get through in the office, and we will get to these eventually. It's definitely on their plate. All right. New business. We don't have any. Does anybody have any new business tonight? Wait. I just noticed okay, the budget is on the next one. I have I don't have a full budget update, but I did get guidance. I'm moving on to old business. So for the conservation budget, I did request budget information. I did not receive that, but I did receive that we have to vote on our fiscal year 2026 budget. So we have for the timber rights funds, let me pull this up. So there's a spending limit of $10,000. Let me share my screen. There's not a lot to share here. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So I was given this Excel spreadsheet from Ezekiel Ayala in the office, and we have $10,000 spending limit for the fiscal year of 2026 to divvy up between these two funds, which is the purchase of service and supplies. I would love any guidance on how we should divvy this up, how we would look at this. Does anyone have any suggestions?
Madam Chair,
Sophie? Yes.
well, maybe we should hear from Sophie first.
Sophie, do you have any suggestions here?
I would say I'm really caught off guard because I haven't even reviewed this yet. So I don't know if I'm in the position right now to be able to give feedback on it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just thought I heard Sophie's voice simultaneous with mine. I wasn't trying to put her on the spot. well, we haven't voted on this allocation before, but of course, moving forward in time, as we move forward in time, if there's an opportunity to do what we do better, I for one would embrace it. But we don't
It's-
tend to have a forecast for these types of things out of
Right.
timber rights. It's as the need arises, because it's maintenance of our trail systems is primarily where we allocate the these funds. If the best practice is to do it, and then as I understand, with the budget, if we allocate it and then we run out with a overage in one, subgroup and an underfunding in the other, we can do some paperwork and transfer funds from one area to the next. I think I might be closest to the run rate of trails of anybody here. I would definitely say we want to purchase supplies more often than we want to purchase services. So I would allocate or suggest allocating 9,000 to supplies and 1,000 to service.
Okay. So yeah, that sounds very reasonable to me. What I was told is that we were supposed to submit it last year, but they forgot to ask us. But supposedly we did it the year before, but the spending limit is different every year because it's voted on at town meeting. So, yeah, so I think
Madam
that
Chair, we have not done
yes.
it in the 3 years that I've been on the Conservation Commission.
Okay. So,
Yeah, now there might have been a conversation between the chair and the current sitting administrator, but it wasn't on any of the agendas that I was present for.
okay, that makes sense. I couldn't find it anywhere. But what I was told is we have to vote on it. So I definitely, in order to vote on it, maybe this is something new that maybe it wasn't voted on in the past, but maybe it's being voted on now and in the future.
Yeah, and if
So-
it's an improvement, I'm in favor of improvements and better rigor.
Okay, so do we have any other comments? I think that Mary's comment seems like a good idea to me. I can definitely see where we would need supplies more than services, but does anyone else have any suggestions or other ways of thinking?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I just have a question because I am new to this, and is there
Absolutely.
any sort of example of things that we would specifically spend this money on? Like a specific example from last year?
yeah, Mary, do you want to take that or
Great. How much time do I have?
have all the time in the world? We're moving pretty quickly tonight.
Yeah, Sophie may have something to add though.
That looks like she raised her hand. Do you want to,
Oh,
Sophie,
Mary,
go
you can
first?
start and then I can fill in anything that you might have missed.
Yeah, well, he's just asking for some examples. So, we have several conservation areas, Teddy, and we have bridges in those areas. And anytime you have a bridge, you have to do maintenance of bridges. We also have really active volunteer groups. The Snow Riders, Bob Pease, former commissioner, has been really kind of our informal coordinator of trail improvements and whatnot, right? So he's been working on going out and actually surveying all of the bridges in town and coming back and giving us advice about where we need to, put materials to improve bridges. We're trying to open up a new trail system in Table Rock, which is on Northfield Road. Because and you may know, we had a Mass Trails grant that we were awarded last year to do planning work to put in parking areas, because there's really not robust parking for Table Rock. And so that new trail system would be coming out directly out of the parking area and then interconnecting with the rest of the trail system. That required a number of boardwalks and at least one bridge. And then we're trying to get, at least one of the things I know in the next fiscal year, catwalks added. There's a trail that goes on the north side of Mulpus Brook and the Cowdrey that ends up being really wet And what happens in areas where we have wet trails is people tend to, walk a little bit off trail and walk a little bit more off trail, which means that we have the trail getting wider and wider and wider in a sensitive area next to, the creek. We would want people definitely to stay on trails. So if we add catwalks in that area, it'll keep people and bike riders, trail users out of the wet and the damp and on the trail, so we're not causing any damage where that trail is closest to the water area. And we do have, I think, Jenny, there have been a couple of Eagle Scouts that have been talking to you about getting on agenda sometime in the near future. And
Yes.
they, of course, know that we can't commit funding until we have a hearing, and it's the will of the entire body that we commit funding. But it would be nice if we could provide some budget support for them for the. I think one wants to build a kiosk at the Reno property, which is on Northfield Road, but closer to the Chase Road side. And then another one is looking to do in the small town forest, some improvements there to make it accessible to people with mobility limitations, and maybe put in a picnic area. So it would be nice if we could, as a group, we at least had the budget, right? Because you can't make a decision if you don't have the budget. But at least if we have the budget support for something like that, then the commission could decide as a body to either fund it or not fund it.
Thank
Those
you.
are good examples. Thank you.
And then Sophie, did you want to add anything to that?
No, Mary actually had more information than I had.
Mary's she's very involved in all this stuff. She
Yeah.
coordinates a lot of our volunteers and does a lot of great stuff for the trails and the trail systems.
Yeah, I would have liked to know more about the trails and what's going on with the trails and be more updated about that.
Oh, Chris, you raised your hands?
Yeah, speaking of trails, there's a lot of trees down around me. Some in the conservation land, some in our connecting trails, like for the corridors for the snowmobile club. So I just want to put that out there that there's some work to be done on probably a lot of our trails. I need to go up to the small town forest in Cowdrey as well. I think that windstorm really did a number on our trails. So keep an eye out if you're out there and report them back. I'll be out there with my chainsaw trying to get what I can.
Okay, great. Awesome. And then I know that Bob has some people too that he has that go out and-
That's a good point. I will I'll reach out to him to make sure to coordinate to see what he's got going.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chris. So as far as this budget goes, do we have any other comments or questions?
Madam
So,
Chair,
yes,
may I make a formal motion to allocate 9,000 to supplies and 1,000 to purchase of service?
absolutely. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who was that? I heard Chris.
Was a
Yeah.
tie. We'll give it to Chris.
Yay.
All right, so roll call vote to update our timber rights budget for $9,000 allocated to supplies and $1,000 allocated to purchase of service. Roll call vote, Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Teddy Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnett,
Aye.
and I for myself. I will let the finance office know. All right, open space and land use. Do we have any grants updates? Mary, or anyone else?
One grant update. So the Mass Trails grant that we're currently working for the improvement of the, or planning for the parking areas, which is, engineering analysis, designs, and permitting. I had submitted the request for reimbursement to Mass Trails, but I needed to get the canceled checks. I was checking my email over the past couple of days, and Mylene Malari was able to get me the canceled checks. So that is the only thing that was missing for that partial reimbursement, which includes, all of the work for the Reno parking area, all engineering work for and permitting for Reno, similar for Table Rock. So we should be reimbursed for those, something to the tune of $28,000, I think, for
Amazing.
a $34,000 expenditure. So then what's left on the grant is the work down in the Cowdrey with the on the Townsend Harbor side access point. It's extensive planning work because there are a lot of AHJs down there, authorities having jurisdiction, but hopefully we'll get that done before the end of the calendar year.
Awesome. As always, thank you for everything you do on that front, Mary.
My pleasure.
Okay. Conservation land improvement updates. Kind of gone over a lot of that stuff and other topics, but do we have anything else that we want to talk about?
No further updates from me.
Okay. The Hollis Road residents, and so I just want to, so for Andrea and Teddy, we have, I think you've both been to the pollinator habitat. There's a residence, to the right of that habitat that's also part of that property. And it is, the Conservation Commission kind of oversees it. There's a tenant there. And then also just the pollinator habitat, Mike is very involved in maintenance and helping out at the pollinator habitat. So we'd like to get an update on the, we call that the Hollis Road residents. So at every meeting, we do a little update and see what's going on there. So Mike, do you, or does anyone have any updates on the Hollis Road residents?
I have, go ahead.
Nope, you go.
Okay. We were approached by Justin Harrison a week or so ago regarding his Eagle Scout project.
Yes.
And anyone who might be involved in this, in the scouting, knows that an Eagle Scout determines he wants to do a project, and he in turn selected the pollinator habitat as his choice to provide a rain barrel system. And there's a 32-page how to do this for the Eagle Scout project, where you essentially get the funding to do this project. You get to speak with the group, which Justin did speak with the members of the volunteers of the pollinator habitat to see if this would be a good project for us. It seemed like it was a no-brainer. He got all of the fundraising for the project in the tune of $814. And all he needed was permission to, he submitted a plan of what he was going to do. All we had to do was join him and kind of make room around the small shed that is the lock shed. That it's not a large roof, but enough that he provided a gutter system as well as a downspout. Over the weekend, we had to clear a lot of brush in order for him to do the project. We discovered a few hornets' nests, which I was able to get out of the way so no one would get harmed in doing the project. And it looks like we got the downspout and the gutter in over the weekend. And he'll come back on this Saturday to finish that project with the barrel itself and attach it to the downspout. So there'll be an additional water source that will, like we have in the larger shed that we did a year or so ago. So we'll have more water source for the pollinator habitat. As you know, we have to fill up jugs of water and individually water new plants, as well as plants that are established, but hopefully less. As plants do become established, you know, we can rely on just regular rain, but new plants need that source of water. So this, you know, any way of getting an additional source for water that we don't have to have the fire department come in and fill up our tanks that we have on site is really an advantage for all the volunteers, as well as lessens the reliability of the fire department to have to come fill up our tanks. So we were very glad to see Justin and his crew come in over the weekend on Saturday and do this incredible rain barrel for the habitat. So we're very happy to report that we have another water rain barrel source on the pollinator habitat.
That's amazing. I didn't realize when you said you were going to meet him on Sunday that you were going to start work that day. I thought he was just going to show you some stuff.
You know, he's a Boy Scout. He's prepared. He's ready to
go. That's amazing. I love that.
So, there was a funny thing he had where he brought his Sawzall and he wanted to know where to plug in. And we had to inform him that there's no electricity at the pollinator habitat. So I went home and got my battery operated chainsaw. So we're able to cut brush and get things out of the way for him. And so everything worked out.
Awesome. So I really appreciate you helping him out and doing that and coordinating that, Mike. That's great.
And the black-eyed Susans are in full bloom, and so are other wildflowers. So, you know, if you want to get a show, this is the week to do that.
Yeah, I know. I need to get out there. All the stuff in my yard is blooming, so I can't even imagine what it looks like there. I haven't been in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Chris, I saw you had your hand up. Did you?
Yeah, I was wondering, are you going to have a gravity system of that, or is it just, are you just going to be transporting water from those barrels to the plants?
That's how we do it. There's, you know, the rain barrel has a spigot, and we turn on the spigot, fill up containers of water. But as we get more sources, we don't have to walk so far to bring that water to the plants.
Okay.
So that was a good advantage, getting one more source closer to some of the plantings in the small locked shed that has enough roof area. So when it does rain, it fills up the barrels in no time.
Yeah, that's great.
Mary, you had your hand up.
Yeah. While Mike was talking, I mean, just awesome that we had Eagle Scout project, and particularly with the water in the pollinator habitat area. But it reminded me that we just had a volunteer, one of the National Honor Society students went around and updated all our existing trailhead kiosk. And one of the things that we asked her to do was we created a little QR code, you know, on a placard that basically said, hey, all of the work, all of the work here is done by volunteers, and all the maintenance, you know, improvements are all done by volunteers. We can use your help. And a QR code that takes people to a Google form. And I thought, you know, I haven't looked at that in a couple of weeks. And we've actually had 2 people volunteer already through that that QR code to Google Form interface.
Very cool.
That
Very
is cool.
That's awesome.
Can I also add one thing? We had a lot of help from the volunteers of the pollinator habitat this weekend. So a shout out to Christina, to Ginny, and to Pam. They were all present while we were cutting brush away. They were hauling it away for composting and recycling. So, you know, took a lot of
Awesome.
effort to get all that work done. Even though we had a lot of scouts and their friends and volunteers, the pollinator habitat was there in full force to also assist on the project.
Amazing. I love it. All right, well, thank you so much, Mike.
Okay.
Committee reports. Do you have anything from open space, Chris?
No, we have a meeting coming up later this month, and maybe I'll have something after that.
And then for stormwater, we did meet this month. We just went over more so we're looking to implement a stormwater utility, and we went over a little bit more how we're classifying properties and what their utility would be based on what kind of property they are, and figuring out what properties would be what cost, what fee per quarter. So we're just still kind of ironing things out. And then, do we have any communications or public comment? I don't think we have any members of the public on anymore. We do not. Do we have any communications from commissioners? So where we're done pretty quickly. I don't know if this is, somebody tell me if this is okay. I'd be willing to stay on after the meeting, or I don't know if we would record this or not, and just kind of go over OpenGov for Andrea and Teddy if they wanted, or I could definitely talk to you guys outside of a meeting and show you OpenGov a little bit, just so you could see how that works. I don't know if that's something, I know we've done trainings, but I don't know if we put them on the agenda before. Just like 5 minutes, kind of, you probably saw it while I was using it in the meeting. Just to, make sure you guys are kept up to speed and know how to use the tools that we have, because OpenGov is amazing. We just got it about a year ago, and it's where applications kind of move through a workflow, and it's all in one place, where we used to have to kind of go to different places to find things because folders have moved from one setting to another. So if anybody wanted to do that or wanted to do it another time, I would be happy to show people how to use OpenGov or any other conservation commission tools that we have access to. So other than that, do we have anything else from anybody? Richard.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just was reviewing quickly the agent determination at 167 Townsend Harbor Road, and was reading the application, and we may need to change that from a determination to an RDA. Their application is for the removal of 19 trees, not 3 dead ones. So Herlin may want to just review that before going out and going through the determination process.
So you're seeing 19 trees?
Well, 3 dead ones and 16, where was it? Yeah, and 16 others. At least that's what it was in the, I just got to get back to it. That's what it was in the OpenGov application.
How did let's see. Okay.
And it may have changed maybe, because it
Yeah.
just says 3 dead trees on the agenda.
That current contains 15, the 3 are dead and need to be removed. I'll share my screen really quick so that everybody can see this.
And then they had the chart with like 50 trees on it.
Yeah. So lot currently contains 52 trees. There are 3 that are
Mhm.
dead and need to be removed. After consulting professionals, they're going to remove 3 trees, an additional 16 that are hollow, dying, dangerously close to housing, preventing healthy growth. Okay, yeah, we should definitely update the agenda for that. Okay, yeah, I will. Sophie, you heard that too.
Yeah, I'll make a note. I already wrote a note
you.
on my copy.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Richard, for picking up on that.
No problem.
You don't need any OpenGov help for sure. Okay, so.
When I can finally get in, it doesn't like to work with a VPN running.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of things don't like to work when you're out in the middle of the ocean with your Starlink. I'm guessing you.
Well,
Poor
actually, I'm not in the
Richard.
middle of the ocean. I'm just in South Carolina.
Okay. And you're on the ocean though, right?
Condolences.
Oh no, I'm on
Poor
a dock
Richard.
tonight
Okay,
in
man,
beautiful Beaufort, South Carolina.
someday. Okay, so I think that Sophie, do you have anything that you wanna say while we're here?
About OpenGov in particular? Or
No, just in general about
Oh.
your, I don't want to
Um,
share anything
yeah, step
without.
on any toes or anything. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have you
Um,
back, Sophie. It's been a long time.
Yeah, about that. Um, I I am glad that I got the opportunity to grow and learn. Um, an incredibly ooh, I won't get emotional. Um, I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I had to work with all of you and the town over the past almost year and a quarter-ish. Um, and however, this is going to be my final meeting that I've attended. So my last day in the office will be July 8th. But I hope to stay in touch. I live in Leominster, so really like 8 minutes away from Lunenburg. So I still want to be part of the community in every way that I can.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much for, I want to say it's actually about 1.75 years, because I think you came in when I did my first application right around that time. So yeah, thank you for, being with us, and you'll be missed. So, but yeah, so Sophie's last day is Tuesday, and Harlan will be helping out over the summer while we figure out what next steps are. Oh, Mary, you raised
I
your
just
hand.
wanted to thank Sophie for all her hard work, right? Dedication. I know it's a thankless job at times, but I really do appreciate all the effort that she put into trying to get the office in ship shape. And don't be a stranger. If you want to know anything about our conservation lands, definitely reach out, because I'm happy to, point you to places, or, walk with you out places. We can take the dogs out and let them play. Because we've got a lot of really interesting trail systems here in town.
Yeah, I really haven't been able to explore a lot of the town. Unfortunately, I haven't really had the time to do that. But I've heard from friends and family that some family live in Lunenburg as well, and they love it. So yeah.
We do have amazing trails here. Lots of open space. Mike, you have your hand up.
Yes, Sophie, I want to thank you for being a champion of protecting as much habitat as possible when we go through all these applications. And I've really been able to hear your voice in all of your thoughts when applicants come in and want to do things, and you always side with nature, which is great. So I just want to thank you for that and wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Well, thank you. And my passion will always be there since I was little, so that's not going anywhere for sure.
Well, that's great. Good luck.
And then Richard, I saw your hand up.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Sophie. It's been great working with her over the last year and 3/4, and wish her luck in her future endeavors. Don't be a stranger.
Thank
Same
you,
goes
Rick.
to me, Sophie. Enjoyed working with you. Enjoyed our walks on to Howard Street.
Yeah, those were adventures.
Yes, they were.
I know. Thank you so much, Sophie. It's been really a pleasure working with you. Sad to see you go. But wish you luck in wherever you go next. Richard has his hand up again.
Actually, I had a question if as we're moving on, you had mentioned something about a utility and walking around and figuring out what to charge people
Oh,
on
so
stormwater. What is that?
Stormwater Task Force is the other task force that I'm on. I'm the delegate for the Conservation Commission. And it is the entire purpose of the Stormwater Task Force is to implement a stormwater utility. And that would be to cover a lot of the extra costs that our budget doesn't cover for stormwater maintenance, stormwater just infrastructure in town. We have a lot of stormwater. We have a lot of things happening in town that really could use servicing, and our budget doesn't meet that. And then also we have the MS4 permit to comply with, and the budget just doesn't handle that. So there's a lot of towns that have done this. Shrewsbury has it. I think Newburyport, Amesbury, Franklin's about to do it. Chelmsford, like tons at Medway. And basically it's just a quarterly fee that would go in either probably your property tax bill. And it's going to be anywhere from like $10 to $25 a quarter for a single family home, if it were to be implemented. And then as the properties get larger, based on how much impermeable surface they have on the property, the cost would get more. So obviously like Walmart would have a higher cost than, your house, like a much higher cost, or Arrive would have a higher cost. It's basically single family homes. We're trying to keep it easy. We're not trying to calculate the impervious surface on a home, just to keep it easy and cheap for homeowners. But, as we get more, we're still not calculating it on the higher classes, but taking it a little bit, taking it into account. Does that make sense?
So this is for structures that are currently maintained by the highway department, and it's going to be maintained by a stormwater department?
No, so the Stormwater Task Force is specifically just to get the utility implemented. So that fee that would be on possibly your property tax bill, that like $10 a month or $15 per quarter, I mean. Then the infrastructure is maintained by the DPW. And basically it's going to be stormwater infrastructure. So say Flat Hill Road is a good example. They had to go out and do some work there, like things like that are going to help divert stormwater or create areas for stormwater to recharge, and not just be everything going into the sewer, because that doesn't really work. We need better stormwater infrastructure in Lunenburg, where it's a very, very wet town with a lot of stormwater, a lot of water just in general, as I think everybody on this commission knows. Mary?
Oh, I was, as you were explaining, I thought I knew what this was, and then maybe it occurred to me that maybe I don't. So is it planning and implementation, is what the stormwater utility would do? Or is it mostly planning with the DPW doing the implementation on public lands? And how does that, and or does it cross over into private land and new projects and whatnot?
So, I think, so the task force itself is specifically for implementing the utility. Then if the utility is implemented, the task force would be converted into a commission. I think just similar to like a budget task force or any other committee that may have started out as a task force. I'm not aware of any, to be honest, but it would, there are kind of like the partnerships that Bill at the DPW does with people like at Cortland Circle, that's technically a private property, but there was kind of a partnership with them on fixing some of their stormwater infrastructure. It turned out that there was actually a pipe that was leaking, but that was on, part of that was on their property. So working with maybe homeowners who have a lot of water discharging off their property or coming onto their property, that may, the infrastructure that we're building may help with that. Maybe not on their property, but it would be, the hope is with any stormwater infrastructure, and hopefully green stormwater infrastructure, that you are diverting water into places that aren't people's property and are places where the water can go to recharge and, go back into the groundwater. So it's kind of just figuring out places that Lunenburg's water can go. Like, I think we know now that, the sewer isn't necessarily the best place for your water to be moving through. I think all the water that we have, all the rain that we get, can't just always be going through the sewer. We need to get this, the best place for water to be going is places where it can recharge and start, becoming part of our water source again.
Thank you.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're developing a utility to collect funds from the townspeople and towns businesses and then deciding what to spend it on? I guess I'm just not quite following that.
So Bill has a budget that he presented at town meeting.
Mhm.
On the things that he would like to spend it on this year. Some of it is equipment that helps with building stormwater infrastructure. I can't remember exactly what's on it, but there is a budget that it's actually $1 million ish that Bill has. Some of that is covered through what is the grant that we get from the state? I forget what the fund is called, but there's like,
Chapter
it has,
90?
yes. And then some of it will be covered by, not all of it by any means, would be covered by, help be covered by some of this utility.
So how much is the stormwater utility looking to generate an additional revenue?
So somewhere between like 300,000 and 600,000.
Per year from the townspeople?
Yes.
Wow,
And they'll be presenting again at the next town meeting.
that seems a little more than $25 a household per quarter.
Well, so it's not just households though, that we have, some businesses that have impermeable surfaces, their fees will be higher. You have the Walmart or the Arrive, or we're still trying to figure out how the solar farms kind of get into this. Although, solar farms are a weird situation. So there's a lot that we're kind of working through, and we're looking at there are a lot of other towns in Massachusetts that have this, and other states too. So we're kind of trying to look at the way other towns have done it and see what works and see what doesn't, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll have to look more into that.
So yeah, we meet on the third Thursday, but our meetings are available. On the Lunenburg Access on YouTube, if you ever want to watch a previous meeting. They're exciting.
Like watching grass grow?
Yeah. So anyone else have any questions about the Stormwater Task Force? No, stormwater is kind of my jam. So green stormwater infrastructure, I should say, not pipes, but No more questions on that? Okay, so, Teddy and Andrea. You guys make it through the meeting?
Yep, still
So
here.
happy that you guys are here, really. I am thrilled to have both of you. As far as OpenGov goes or anything related to getting yourselves into any commission assets or resources, reach out to me. I can always hop on like a screen share with you and show you how to do things. And then I sent you both the document that Mary created, and Mary sent it to you too, Teddy.
Yes.
And if you have any questions on that, or if anything isn't working, let me know. I'm gonna make sure you should have received something from MAC, the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners. Usually they send you something pretty quickly, but if you haven't, let me know, because that gives you access to some of their free training. You get like a
Yes, I was
year
actually
to-
just looking at that. I have not received that, and I think it just might be a typo with my email, perhaps.
Okay, well, they should hopefully send it. They did send it to my Gmail. So
Okay.
I'll try to get them to send it to your town email if you haven't received anything. Also, yeah, we did have the wrong email address. So, and then what else is there that I would want to share with you while we have you here? That's it. If you have any questions, just let me know. I know my first meeting was very, very daunting. I was kind of thinking as we were going through that I should have, said what like a certificate of compliance is, but if you have any questions, reach out to me or any other commissioner and let us know. You both got in your email today. So we're getting there.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out with a couple questions.
Awesome. Please do. All right. Do we have any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Nope. All right. Our next meeting will be July 16th on Zoom. That's 2025. And then I could be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Rich.
All right, I have the motion from Mike and the second from Rich. All right, roll call vote. Richard Bursch,
Aye.
Mike LaRouche,
Aye.
Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Mary Wilson,
Aye.
Eddie Doucette,
Aye.
Andrea Burnett,
Aye.
and I for myself. Meeting adjourned at exactly 9:00 p.m. on July 2nd, 2025. Look at us being fast. Ish. Okay, well, Sophie, thank you so much for coming to this meeting before you leave us. It was nice to have you on. We've missed having a administrator on the meetings for sure.